Patayo Shringavetre Chakakshe Vibratvenum Yatara Patayo Shringavetre Chakakshe Vame Panama Shinakavalam Tatphalanyangulisu Tistan Majesa Parisurido Hasean Narma Vishwai Tistan Majeswa Parisurido Haseyan Narma Viswai Swarge Loke Misati Bubuje Yagya Bukbalakili Vibradvenu Yatara Patayo Shingavetre Chakakse Vame Panomasrina Kavalam Tatphalanyam Guru Kilisu Tistan Majeswa Parisurido Haseyan Narma Viswai Swarge Loke Misate Bubuje Yakbuk Balakini Tistan Majeswa Parisurido Haseyan Narma Vishwai Swarge Loke Nisati Bubuje Yakya Bukbalakeli. Read, I did good. Any of the ladies? Keeping the flute. Yatara Patayo. Between the tight closing and the abdomen. Shringavetre. Both the horn, bugle, and the cow driving stick. Cha. Also. Kakse. On the waist. Vame. On the left hand side. Pano. Taking in hand. Masrina Kavalam. Very nice food. Prepared with rice and first-class curd. Tatphalani. Suitable pieces of fruit. Like bale. Angulishu. Between the finger. Tistan. Staying in this way. Maje. In the middle. Swaparisuddha. His own personal associates. Hasayam. Making them laugh. Narmabi. With joking words. Swai. His own. Svargalokamishrati. While the inhabitants of the heavenly planets. Svargaloka were watching this wonderful scene. Bubuje. Krishna enjoyed. Yagyabuk balakeli. Although he accepts offerings in yajna for the sake of childhood pastimes, he was enjoying foodstuffs very jubilantly with his cowherd boyfriends. Translation. Krishna is yagyabuk. That is, he eats only offerings of yajna. But to exhibit his childhood pastimes, he now sat with his flute tucked between his waist and his tight cloth on his right side, and with his horn bugle and cow-driving stick on his left, holding in his hand a very nice preparation of yogurt and rice with pieces of suitable fruit between his fingers. He sat like the whirl of a lotus flower, looking forward to all his friends, personally joking with them and creating jubilant laughter among them as he ate. At that time the denizens of heaven were watching, struck with wonder, at how the personality of Godhead, who eats only in yajna, was now eating with his friends in the forest. Purport. When Krishna was eating with his cowherd boy friends, a certain bumblebee came there to take part in the eating. Thus Krishna joked, "Why have you come to disturb my Brahmana friend Madhumanga? You want to kill a Brahmana? That is not good." All the boys would laugh and enjoy, speaking such joking words while eating. Thus the inhabitants of the higher planets were astonished at how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he who eats only when yajna is offered, was now eating like an ordinary child with his friends in the forests. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyanandana Salakya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kalamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The clock. Thank you. So Krishna had gone to the forest, and that is Krishna's natural habitat, right? his natural dwelling place. Krishna likes that forest so much. Sometimes we hear in the Damodar Leela that one reason why Mother Yasoda bound Krishna, because she was afraid that since he was angry and upset, that he would run away and stay in the forest permanently. Because after all, his fondness of being in the forest was very, very strong. Krishna came to the banks of the Yamuna and saw a very nice place. Some trees were there, the wind was whispering through the leaves, and there was nice shade, there was nice grass under the trees, the sand also was very soft and nice, and it looked like a beautiful place, a place where they could sit down and have prasadam, and at the same time the calves could also graze and take some grass. So everything looked perfect. The boys were playing and joking. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur describes how one boy, while no one was watching, took the filling out of a samosa and then he filled it with jasmine flowers and then said, "Oh, I have these really nice samosas." And then, they were, of course, quite bitter. So in this way, the whole mood was very playful. Meanwhile, we're seeing that the demigods, they were watching the entire episode, and they knew very well that here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what is happening here? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Yagyabhuk. He is known as the one who eats whatever is offered in sacrifice. They were perceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his Aishvarya, his opulences, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Controller, the Lord of the entire universe. And the demigods themselves were aware how they were controllers and how they were able to control the forces of nature. And so, in one sense, they saw the Supreme Lord was of a similar nature to them, but greater than them. Right? And therefore, they duly worshipped him. And that worship was obviously to be done according to Veda. Because in the heavenly planets, Vedic knowledge is predominant. Not a culture where everyone just speculates and everyone just does whatever comes into their head. That is planet Earth. But in the heavenly regions, everyone is acting appropriately because the mode of goodness is predominant in the heavenly planets, and therefore Vedic knowledge is predominant, and anything and everything is done according to prescribed duty. So according to prescribed duty, the Lord is to be worshipped in an appropriate way. And the Lord is never to be treated on an equal platform. The Lord it is always to be remembered that he is to be given special respect. Therefore, we bow down when we see the Lord. The Lord is on a raised throne, so we can see that indeed he is the Lord, the one who is asamurdva, the one who is not equaled by anyone. He is the supreme, above anyone else. No one is his equal. Ekaleeshvaro sarvabhritya yaryaichanaicha tarakaichanacha. There is one supreme Lord, and all others are his dependents. Right? And just like Srila Kavi Karnapur in his Chaitanya Chandradoy Natak is saying what is the difference? What is the difference of the bliss of the devotees and the bliss of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And then he says, I see. The bliss of the devotees is always dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the bliss of the Lord is independent. He is blissful within himself. And so, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the effulgent personality within the entire universe, and he is the Istadev, the worshipable deity of the entire universe. Just as within the body there is the super soul, within the universe there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the devatas are fully conscious of the position of the Supreme Lord and remembering him duly. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is described how Lord Brahma is basically busy with puja all day. And his altar is something because there is a particular form of the Lord, a particular expansion of the Lord who is sitting there receiving the worship of Lord Brahma. So in this way, they are always absorbed in worshipping the Supreme Lord. But now, what is happening? Now they saw the Lord taking the form of a child. In the spiritual world, there are no children. Only here, in the material world, even in the heavenly planets, there are no children. In the heavenly planets, those who arrive there just appear like full adults. Yes. In the spiritual world, no children. Of course, Nanda and Yasoda, they see Krishna is 15. Right? So that's a child. It's a border case. The parents, when the child is 15, at least I used to think that I was an adult, and they used to think that I was a kid, obviously. I mean, right? That's quite clear. So that's going on. Nanda and Yasoda eternally see Krishna as a child, but not a small child. Now Krishna was much younger. Now he had taken the form of a child, of an earthly child. And now he was just acting also in a childish way, playing and all these things, whatever kids do. Sporting, running, climbing, jumping, very physical, as kids do. When kids go from one place to another, they run. Right? They don't walk, they run. It's like we just saw. He ran out of the door. He didn't walk. It's like, I don't run anymore, usually. Sort of. So the pastimes of Krishna are displaying all these human-like features, and that is bewildering. We see a little later that Krishna is holding this yogurt and rice with some pieces of banana, right, and maybe some little piece of other fruit, which is described here. And just when Lord Brahma appeared, Lord Brahma saw that he was holding this rice mixed with yogurt in the left hand. That's the wrong hand. That's like when you're not educated, you would hold in the left hand. So, it looked just so unlike the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-powerful, the omniscient Supreme Lord. So therefore, it created some doubt in Lord Brahma's heart. It created that little bit of doubt. Sometimes we hear that Lord Brahma had a desire to see the opulences of Krishna, and that actually he did understand that Krishna was the Supreme Lord, but he just wanted Krishna to manifest his opulences. Other times we hear that Lord Brahma was a little bit influenced by the illusory energy of Krishna, by the Yogamaya energy of Krishna. Because Krishna it is very bewildering.
Grazie, alla prossima.
It is very bewildering how he is taking this human-like form and at the same time is superhuman. How he lifts Govardhan Hill and yet he's a small boy. How is it possible? It looks so contradictory. Such enormous power. So when Krishna wrestles with or comes into the wrestling arena, and all the residents of Mathura are seated there, then different people are perceiving Krishna in different ways. And people in general thought it was an unfair match. Here were these enormous wrestlers, and here were just these two boys. And the people thought, this is an unfair match. And it was. It was an unfair match. I mean, how can these wrestlers be a match for the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That wasn't a fair fight, right? They were destined to lose. They didn't stand a chance. And we see, Krishna fought with Mustika, I think, and Balaram with Chanura, if I remember it right. And then Krishna hit his opponent on the head, and the eyes popped out of the sockets, and they were just dangling there. Who could do such a thing? And then after the whole wrestling match was over, then Jiva Goswami describes, then there was still more wrestling. This time, Krishna and Balaram wrestled with some cowherd boys, and then they lost. That's when Kamsa also lost it. That was too much for Kamsa. Right? First his wrestlers defeated, and then these skimpy little cowherd boys defeat Krishna and Balaram. That was like adding insult to injury. So, in this way, the Supreme Lord plays, and he mixes these two rasas, the Madhurya mood of Raj and the Aishwarya mood of Mathura and of the Vaikuntha planets and of the heavenly regions. And we see that in these pastimes, these dynamics are sort of coming to a clash, right, in a way, because Lord Brahma is coming in with his Aishwarya sense from the from his realm, because Lord Brahma cannot understand the nature of that Madhurya realm. Now when I call Vrindavan Madhurya, of course there are 5 rasas in Vrindavan, as we know, but the Madhurya nature of Vrindavan is all-pervading. So everyone, even those who are in Sakhya Ras, are linked to Madhurya. They're also supporting Madhurya. Just like the Radharani, the gopis, are trying to meet. They're trying to meet Krishna. But there's always obstacles in between. And the cowherd boys sometimes also become these obstacles to the gopis, because Krishna is with his friends. And then they can't really have their intimate exchanges of Madhurya with Krishna while the friends are there. So in this way, indirectly, the friends are also increasing the eagerness in the Madhurya pastimes. They're increasing the separation, and the separation increases the eagerness of the gopis. So in this way, all the various personalities in Vrindavan are contributing to Madhurya, and Madhurya is particularly the predominating feature of the Vrindavan pastimes. So, in Madhurya, Krishna comes down from his majestic position, and Krishna comes down to a human position, very equal to the residents of Vrindavan, and he's like them, and he's showing the same features like them, and therefore they feel, yeah, he's like us, and we are like him. Oh, Krishna's lifting Govardhan hill. All right, we'll help him. We'll help him. Krishna, now you've been carrying this hill for days. Come on, Krishna, take a break and eat something. You know, you haven't eaten all this time. All the mothers were there. Come on, eat something. Please, eat something. And then, yeah, Krishna says, oh, but I'm holding the hill. So, Nanda Maharaj and the coward men can hold the hill. And then Krishna, for a moment, they all put themselves to holding the hill, and then Krishna just slightly withdrew some of the energy of his little finger, and they were being crushed by the hill. Then, okay, Krishna took it again. So really this pastime is a confrontation between Aishvarya and Madhurya, and how we're seeing Lord Brahma representing that mood of Aishvarya, and therefore not being able to appreciate that Krishna could be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he couldn't understand the point. And the demigods also, although the demigods are witnessing, they do not understand what they're seeing. It's sort of bewildering them, and they cannot fully enter. They cannot fully understand. We saw that when Krishna appeared within the Yadu dynasty, that on his order the demigods had also appeared in the Yadu dynasty. And then it is explained that many of the demigods could actually not understand who Krishna was. And some of them even thought that he was like Paramatma. But they could not understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they could not understand that the essence of the Supreme Lord's focus is loving exchange. That they could not understand. And in general, we see that in religions and religious concept around the world, that this understanding is not there. The understanding is there about the power of the Lord. Right? You know, he's God. You know, thunderbolts and everything. Yes, he controls the powers of nature. We see a huge mountain and we feel dwarfed, and when we are on top of this huge mountain, we sort of get a little bit religious, not too much, but a little bit, you know, the majesty of nature. When we're out in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, we feel again dwarfed, and in this dwarf state, we are appreciating that there are powers that are greater than us. So the majesty of the Lord naturally awakens a sense of awe in us, a sense of reverence, and a sense to go on the knees. But how different is Vrindavan? The loving exchanges is what is important. If we go back a few verses, we get a description how Krishna was seated with the cowherd boys, and they're sitting in rows, right? But in a circle around Krishna. So concentric circles around Krishna. And all looking at Krishna, all focused at Krishna. nothing else, but yet in a very casual mood. In a casual mood, as I say, take the filling out of samosa and put some flowers in there. I mean, you can't do that on the altar. What are the pujaris? Start taking out the filling. I think that would become an issue. That would become an issue. Right. But because we are worshipping still at this stage in awe and reverence, we are instructed that although we're worshipping Radha and Krishna, that we are worshipping them in a mood of Lakshmi Narayan, with awe and reverence and all due respect, because we're not ready for this casual exchange. We find a description in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where it is where Narada Muni is visiting different devotees, and he's glorifying these devotees. Then the devotees respond and say, no, I am not the greatest devotee. How can you say I'm such a great devotee? I am fallen. I didn't get the greatest mercy of the Lord. No. So Narada has just come to Hanuman, and he's saying, oh Hanuman, you are the most intimate servant of Lord Ramachandra. No one is more dear to the Lord than you. You are so connected to the Lord. And you are like, he's always in your back to Godhead, except me. I had to stay around in Kim Purusha Varsa. Right? I had to stay, and for a long time. And if you really think about it, how much association did I actually have with Lord Ramachandra? I saw him only for a very short time. Yeah, shortly, on the way to Lanka, a little bit during the battle, but that was actually a matter of days, right? And when it was over, then he flew to Ayodhya and so on, and not long after, he went back to Godhead. How much time did I really see him? Most of my life, I have just worshipped him in separation. How am I the greatest recipient of the mercy of Lord Ramachandra? No, but then the Pandavas, the Lord lived with them, with the Pandavas, and the Pandavas, the Lord was their personal servant, their messenger. He was laying on the bed with Arjuna, the Pandavas, and Narada is also going, the Pandavas, yes, the Pandavas. And Narada's getting ecstatic, Hanuman's getting ecstatic, the Pandavas, and Narada says, let's go to the Pandavas. And Hanuman said, yes, let's go to the Pandavas. And then, as they're going, Hanuman said, no, wait a minute, I can't go to the Pandavas. No. These Pandavas, they're very casual. With the Lord, He said, I have to be careful because I'm a monkey, I'm a monkey. So I need to the Prabhupada. And he has written the Lilamrita in poetry form, called Remembering Srila Prabhupada. And I really like that poetry and I read it regularly. And in there, he said, says, Lord Ramachandra went to Lanka, assisted and monkey nature. What would we not do? Like that. Yes. So for the time being, we are worshipping in that way. But the residents of Vrindavan, they are always worshipping the Lord. It is not that the cowherd boys had a picnic. We'll taste today. That would be the perfection of my lunch boxes. So in this way, Krishna, both in the relationship with the demigods, as well as in the relationship in Vrindavan, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Krishna is Bhaktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's Bhaktaram. He is the supreme enjoyer in both cases. But in the Vrindavan pastimes, it doesn't always look like that. It doesn't always look like that. Someone could just snatch something from Krishna's plate, just as he was about to go for the sweet, right? And his hand is going for it. Suddenly next to him, shoof, this hand comes, steals Krishna's sweet. That is possible in the cow.
Oh no. No, no.
The enjoyer of sacrifices. All right. Yeah, bring it. All right. Okay. Ring the bell.
No, no.
I know you don't like to do it, but anyway, ring it. I know you're thinking to get it over and done with. Right? I know. Right. So, in this way, Yagya book Nothing, no milk bottles.
So
No.
the pastime of Mother Yashoda binding Krishna to there is no such pastime?
No, no, it's happening here. No, there are particular, they go to the material world. And when they go to the material world, Krishna arranges for a replica of the spiritual world there. But then they perform pastimes in the material world, which have a different times to enjoy, along with his eternal associates. So therefore, this time they have kids, and that's a new type of enjoyment. Yeah. So this planet is all about having kids. Yeah. And there are other planets in the universe where it's not exactly like that. There it's not about kids, can you imagine? Yeah. Yeah. Yes?
I've read that it's recommended to follow the footstep of the residents of...
Yeah, speak slow because the thing is a little, makes it hard, yeah.
I've read that it's recommended to follow the footstep of the residents of Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Emulate the mood.
Yeah.
So, you're explaining how generally we worship the Lord with all reverence.
Yes.
So at what point, at what stage,
Yeah.
devotion can we emulate this mood?
Yeah, this comes in two steps, right? This comes, bhakti is divided in Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti is where we're following the Vedic injunctions. And because this is the stage where we are still influenced by the lower nature. So as long as the lower nature is still influencing us, then it's not possible to act on the spontaneous platform, like the residents of Vrindavan. That is called Raganuga Bhakti, isn't it? And the residents of Vrindavan are known as Ragatmikas. They are the personification of Rag, the personification of loving attachment to Krishna. And then we are, at one stage, when we become advanced, a devotee can start following the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. Raga, Anuga, Raganuga, Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is, what is the adhikar? What is the qualification for Raganuga Bhakti? It is said that in the initial stages of bhakti, the stages that Rupa Goswami explained, Ado, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu Sangha, etc. First, the initial faith, then association with devotees, then the regulated process of devotional service, bhajana kriya, and then anartana vritti. This is all part of the initial state of devotional service, where one is trying to make a strong connection. So in the beginning, early faith is there, one starts to connect with the devotees, but it takes time, to learn how to properly connect with devotees and to take full advantage of it. Then we learn from the devotees and from Shastra and the Acharyas, Bhajana Kriya, how to actually practice bhakti properly. And then the Anartana Vritti is really starting to happen nicely. And so we go through our Anartana Vritti. Once Anartana Vritti is maturing, when we get more purified from all the unwanted things in the heart, we come to Nistha. Nistha is the stage which is generally looked upon as the Madhyam Adhikari stage. Whereas prior to Nistha, it is really Kanistha stage, the stage where one is still struggling the struggling stage, to somehow or other connect it. In the struggling stage, then Vaidhi Bhakti must be strictly adhered to, and one is not ready for Raganuga Bhakti. Although there may be some spontaneous elements coming in to our service, some spontaneous things begin to develop. It's not only rules and regulations. In chapter 2 and in chapter 14 of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada describes Raganuga Bhakti. And then in chapter 2, he says in the beginning, you have to force yourself to go to Mangalartik, and then after some time you get actually a taste, and you really want to go. And this is the beginning of Raganuga Bhakti, Prabhupada is saying in chapter 2. But in chapter 14, he describes the Raganuga Bhakti as what comes in the advanced stages of devotional service. So once you come to Nistha, then you are, Prabhupada says, 60-70% purified. So there are still obstacles in the heart, but 60-70% purified. Then one can serve the Lord with great focus. Then very soon, after Nistha, very soon, Ruchi will also develop. There is taste from day one. There's all kinds of taste. There's taste in kirtan, there's taste of prasadam, there's plenty of taste in devotional service. But at one point taste becomes predominant. That's the stage of ruchi. So at the stage of ruchi, that's where the rag, where we feel drawn. Now we are strongly attracted to Krishna. Then that ruchi begins, that's where maybe the beginning of a particular interest in a particular mood of a particular resident of Vrindavan begins. And in Ashakti, where that ruchi becomes more mature in deep attachment, then Srila Prabhupada explains there are 5 types of Ashakti according to the 5 rasas. Now we're speaking about deep attachment, Ashakti. Deep attachment to Krishna. And that can mature in bhav, and that can mature in prem, and so on. So for now, although there may be elements of higher taste, we're still working on anartha nivriti, somehow or other. So Raganuga is for Ron, they say in Australia, for Ron, mate, which means later on. Right.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Yeah. Yes.
Maharaj, you beautifully described the struggling awe and reverence way of offering prasadam, or offering bhoga to Krishna. It's actually the way you described it is the way I feel it when I offer something to Krishna. It's like, okay, we have to do it. And I also feel something that Krishna thinks, yeah, right, bring it down. And I'm bored, and he's bored. So I could relate to that's how you phrased it. So many times when I offer bhoga to Krishna, afterwards I have really doubts if he accepted it, because my mind is not pure, he is bored, so is it prasadam.
Therefore we also have Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. And therefore, therefore one should always first offer to the spiritual master, and then to Krishna, and then it comes down, the offering comes down. We also see in Gayatri mantras, we're going through Lord Chaitanya, otherwise we cannot go to Krishna. We go from Guru, Gauranga, and then Chaitanya. So that makes it all happen, we're very much a Chaitanya movement, right? Everything, it's like the reason why I can explain it so nicely, because I also have these experiences. It's not that I just, figured out your mind. There was a cartoon, there are 2 people sitting next to each other, and they are hiding their private thoughts. And then you see the thought bubbles above their heads, and they have the same private things that they're hiding from each other. So that's mostly, we all go through these same dynamics. Yeah. When I was here when the temple just opened, I was just here for a short while, and I did service on the altar, and I used to fall asleep. Of course, they had me wake the deities and put them to rest at night. So it was a little tough, but I would regularly, during the last arti, fall asleep. I even dropped at one point the lamp. That's when they took me off the altar, put me more in the kitchen. I'm not a great pujari, but yeah. But so when it comes to deity worship, I quickly encounter my limits of love, right? I do. But when I'm out on Sankirtan, right, and mercy goes out to someone, right, then I feel so connected, and then there are moments at least I feel so connected. Right? So yeah, we need Sankirtan. Yeah. Of course, who am I to tell you? Yeah. But we went in South Africa to a dwelling of they call it an informal settlement, shacks next to the railway line. Terrible, And we went there, and then. But the people were so happy that we came. Devotees had been there before, and they knew one melody. So we started to sing, and they did it, they got it. And then somehow, some of the ladies, they had learned Gornicha Nanda Bol, Hari Bol, and in Africa. So we're doing Hare Krishna. So it was like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and the ladies go Hari Bol, Hare Ram, because it's Africa, right? So some kids had a plastic garbage can, and they had cut it in half and made a cart out of that. And they were in the cart. One of our ladies took the cart, and they were dancing around. We were a festival, One lady was singing with one kid, cheek to cheek, and it was just amazing how much loving exchange was just happening there. It's like, God, these people can never forget this, not in, never. And when Sankirtan is reaching out to people, and they'll never forget this, right? This moment will be with them for the rest of their life. That's when we feel a little bit Krishna conscious. Yeah. That's what we live for. The Jews of Sankirtan. Any other question, comment?
Is Krishna really bored?
Partially, yes. Yes. Krishna is a person. Krishna is a person, so he's partially bored. Yes. There are some commentaries which describe that Krishna really cares so much more for these Vrindavan pastimes, the way the cowherd boys treat him, than for all the mantras of all the brahmanas, right? He doesn't care for that at all. It doesn't capture it. It doesn't capture his heart. So that's when things don't capture your heart, then you're bored.
But it is said that he's also grateful.
So he's also, there's a little bit in him. He's not 100% bored. It's boring, but he also sees it's nice. They're ringing the bell for me. They could also, ring other bells, right? So he appreciates also. So there's also appreciation. Said Krishna is also a Achyuta, one who never fails to appreciate the smallest service rendered. Sure, there is a mixed feelings. Mixed feelings, yes. But to some extent, he's disengaged, you see. As the devotee is disengaged, Krishna is also disengaged. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. No? Yes?
What made you were talking about the stages and
The
stages of devotional. So what is it that from stage of Anartha Nivriti to Nishta, what is it that most devotees make it or break it? How does it happen?
Yeah, I call it just like a plane goes through the sound barrier. Like, how does a devotee go through the taste barrier? Right? This is a crucial point, to go from Kanista to Madhyam, actually. That is a very crucial point. And to get some beginning of taste, real taste, right? Not just a drop here, a drop there, but that one begins to really become motivated by a higher taste. The key is service attitude. It is just service attitude that will make the difference. Really, just ordinary devotional service will do it. And there's a verse also, Gopya Kamat Bhayat Kamso Dvesas Chedanayan Ripa Vrishnya Sambandhat Yuyam Bhaktavayam Vibhu. The gopis, by their lusty feelings for Krishna, Kamsa by his fear, Sishupal by his envy, the Vrishnis by their family relationship, and the regular devotees, right, by hard work in devotional service, will attain that relationship with Krishna. No. So yeah, it's devotional service. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes it seems that just working hard will not make it. Because
Oh, but wait till your hair grows grey. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I also used to think like that. I remember there was one devotee, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he was, I thought he was a bit mundane, but he did service. But he never got so absorbed in speaking about Krishna or all these things, right? Now he's old and grey, but these days he is so ecstatic in Tulsi Puja, it's just incredible. He's just into it, and it's all the result of his service. I couldn't see it then, but I see it now. This service is so powerful, so powerful. And if you just stick to it, it is all about stick to it. Don't, get into it, develop it, and it's just, and those who do, they'll come out on the other end really like amazing devotees, very deep, and with some genuine taste and attachment to Krishna.
Today is the disappearance day of Narahari Sakka.
Narahari Sakka.
And it's mentioned that he did 3 times more service in the temple throughout his whole life than the average devotees. So he was working very, very hard to maintain the temple. It's said that he does 3 times more than normal devotees do in the temple. That was his focus.
Nice, thank you. I didn't look at the calendar, and I didn't stay for the announcements. Okay. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Ekcha. I only wrote wrote very short yesterday. I was tired.
No problem. No problem. You can embrace me, but your presence will make me broken hearted.
Feelings according to the response to your WhatsApp messages.
You get what you deserve.
You can respond to my WhatsApp.